Today's lesson is on practicing dividing fractions and mixed numbers. So we're going to take what we learned from lesson 3.3 and see if we can move forward without drawing those pictures as much. So we're on lesson 3.4, so there's no spark today, so we'll go ahead and jump right in. So here we have part 1, step it out, and Kevin is making hamburgers for a cookout. He bought 10 1/4 pounds of ground meat. How many 1/4 pounds of hamburger patties can he make? So I'm going to flip us over to this page right here. So we have room to think and write. So if you don't have a pencil and a paper, make sure you pause and go get one so you can do this work with me. So we know how much Kevin has, which is 10 1/4. And he wants to see how many 1/4 pound groups he can make out of 10 1/4. So I know 10 1/4 is my divisor. That's what my dividend. That's what I have. My divisor is 1/4. We're cutting it into 1/4 groups. So I started here with 10, actually there's 11 hamburgers, even though we only have 10 1/4. And I know this unit fraction of a fourth. I'm cutting them all into fourths. So I'm going to split all of my hamburgers into fourths here. So go ahead. And while I'm doing this, make sure you draw yourself 11 hamburgers and then split them into fourths. Okay, so go ahead and finish up that. If you need to pause the video, do that. Okay, last one here. So now I'm going to shade in what I have, which is I'm going to place a nice rainbow dot on there. Let me get this a little bigger so I know I have 10 whole hamburgers, pounds, I should say. So I have all of these. I should have used a smaller one in hindsight here. So I have all of these filled in. So here is 8, 9, 10, and 1/4. So 1/4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hamburgers and 1/4 of another pound of hamburger meat. So now I need to cut those into groups of 1/4, which I have already done. So now I can see here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can continue on and count all of the parts that are shaded in since they were cut into fourths. I don't have my pen on. And fourths is what I need. So each dot or shaded in part represents 1/4. So that will tell me how many hamburgers they can make from the meat that they bought. So one way that we could do that different is we could take 10 1/4 and we could make it into a fraction greater than 1, which is what we did here by seeing all of these shaded in pieces. So here's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 41 pieces. If I look at that mathematically, I know I have 4 in all of my hamburgers, and I have 10 whole hamburgers. 10 times 4 is 40, and I have one more piece. I'm going to add that on. I have 41 out of 4 hamburgers or pounds of hamburger. So this right here is an improper fraction, or known as a fraction greater than 1. So I can see here that when I have 10 1/4 and I want to cut it up, I can't just divide by 1/4. That's going to look like 10 divided by nothing. 10 divided by, there's nothing here, is 0. And a fourth divided by a fourth is 1. I don't even know how to write that. So we can't just divide when we have our mixed numbers like this. Instead, what we need to do, let me get an eraser here. I think I can't see my eraser under here. Okay, so I'll just write over the top. Oh, there's my eraser. So I'm going to get rid of that because we can't do that. So what we want to do instead is use the pieces that we have. There was 41 pieces and it takes 4 to make a whole thing. So here's our improper number or our fraction greater than 1. We're going to divide by 4, 1/4. So I can use the reciprocal. So I can copy, dot, flop here, and I can simplify these. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 here. So now I have 41 times 1 is 41. 1 times 1 is 1. 41 divided by 1 is 41. They can make 41 hamburgers, which we did by drawing this picture. So we can do it with a picture or we can do it mathematically. If we're doing it mathematically, the first thing we've got to do is make the mixed number improper. Then we set up our problem, use the reciprocal, so multiply and the flipped number here, and then finish our problem. So let's go ahead and look at task number 1. So the very first thing we have to do is, I'll go back and listen and watch the video again if you need to, and then tell me what 10 1/4 was as that improper fraction. So then it wants to know the final steps you need to take. So here they have gone ahead. I want to know the answer. So after you write it as a division problem, show me what is the multiplication problem going to look like and the answer there. And they have, so yeah, just go ahead and try that out. Getting ahead of myself here. Okay, then put it in a complete sentence. Kevin can make how many 1/4 pound hamburger patties? Okay, so let's go ahead and go to task 2 once you have finished that one. So we are going to just come right over here. So Kevin's friend Justin is bringing juice to the cookout. If he brings 43 3/4 pints of juice, then how many 2.5 pint bottles can be filled? Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'm kind of lazy and I do not want to draw 43 groups of something. Actually, I wouldn't call it lazy. I would call it being smart. If I can do something a better and faster way, I am all for it. It's going to take me a little while to draw 43 things and cut them into 3/4 and then make 2.5 groups of each of those. We can do this a lot faster. So let's first set up our problem, 43 3/4. So be sure to write this down with me. That's what we have, our total, and I want to see how many groups of 2.5 that we can make. So we're dividing by 2.5. We need to see how many parts Justin brought and how many parts we want in each one. So that means we need to do 43 times 4. So go ahead and figure out 43 times 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1 is 17. So out of the full pints, there's 172 pieces, but he has 3 more. So that's 175 over 4. And then we need 2.5. So 2 times 2, this one's a little easier. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. 5 halves. So we're going to copy, and we're still dividing these. So now I need to copy the first one. So that's not changing what I have. We're going to use the reciprocal of the rest of the problem. So the opposite of divide is times. The opposite of 5 halves is 2 over 5. So we'll do it both ways here. So I can do 175 times 2. And that is 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So that means 350 over 4 times 5 is 20. And now I have to divide. So I really love that simplifying method first. I feel like I don't have to do as much work. So I know 20 goes into 35 one time. 1 times 20 is 20. Left over 15. Bring down my 0. So I'm counting my 20s to get to 150. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. Oh, that's too big. So take that one back. So it goes in there 7 times. 7 times 20 was 140 with 10 left over. So I have 10 left out of 20 pieces. 10 is half of 20. So looks like they can fill up 17 and a half, 2.5 pints. So they have these bottles that are 2.5 pints, and they can fill up 17 and a half of those. So let's look at this problem a little bit differently. So we've made them improper. We still have to do that. We still have to copy, dot, flop. But I can do some of this dividing and timesing ahead of time. I know that 2 is a factor of 2 and 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. I could stop there, or I can even keep going. I notice these both end in 5. So I'm going to do 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then I need to see how many times 5 goes into 175. Whoops, not 1. That's an easy problem. So 5 goes into 17 3 times, which is 15. 2 left over, 25. 5 goes into 25 5 times. So this turns into 35. So 35 times 1 is 35. 2 times 1 is 2. And now I need to divide. So I'm still going to have to do a little work, but dividing by 2 is pretty simple. So that goes in there 1 time. And there's 1 left over. There's 15. 2 goes into 15 7 times, which is 14. And 1 left over out of 2. So by doing this, I didn't have to simplify at the end, but either way, we came up with the answer that they could fill up 17 and a half of their bottles. So let's go ahead and look at the problems for task 2. But we have all of our work and all of our answers right here. Okay, so first we need to write these as improper fractions. So go ahead and put those there. Then you're going to tell me the statement that completes the division problem. So what was our final answer? And then it wants to know how many bottles can be completely filled up. So if we come back here, our answer was 17 and a half. So I want you to think about that for a second and go and answer that. So how many bottles can be completely filled up? So this answer is they can do more than 16. Our answer was 17 and a half. So my answer can't have a fraction in it because that's not a whole bottle. And I don't have 18. They can't even get to 18. So they can only fill up 17 the whole way because the last bottle, it is the 18th bottle, but it's only halfway full. So there are 17 bottles that are completely filled up. Okay, so I want you to think back if Kevin made half-pound patties. How would that compare to when he made quarter-pound patties? So you're going to have to come back to task 1 here. And he had 10 and a fourth. So we need to make that improper, which you should have right here. And then instead of dividing by a fourth, you're going to divide by a half. So you're going to copy the first one, dot, flop a half, and see how your answer, if he makes bigger hamburgers, half-pound hamburgers, how many could he make compared to if he made quarter-pound hamburgers. Something to keep in mind is that a fourth, it takes 2/4 to make a half. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. 2 is half of 4. So just something to think about. You might not even have to do the problem if you're thinking about that. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try and solve that problem there. Okay, when you're ready, come back and do task 3 with me today. So task 3 says that Cedric finished a 4-mile race. He ran each mile at the same pace. So same. How many minutes did he average for each mile? So it wants to know what was his pace. Okay. So we know he ran 4 miles and he did it in 32.5 minutes. So we need to take a second and think about what are we dividing by and what is our total? So think for a second, what is the total? We're looking for how many minutes. So that means our minutes has got to be our total. Here, we know we have this total of 38.5 minutes. And I want to divide each of these minutes into 4 equal groups to see how many miles he ran or how many minutes he ran each mile in. So I can't just do 38 divided by 4. That half is going to mess everything up. So what I need to do is see how many total pieces we have instead. So we're going to take 38 and times it by 2 because I have 38 holes. There's 2 in each hole. So there's 16. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And then there's one more piece. So there's 77 over 2. Our denominator stays the same. So I'm going to finish writing my division problem. To make 4 into a fraction, I put it over 1. 4 divided by 1 is still 4. And now I'm going to copy. So keep the first one. Our total stays the same. Use the reciprocal of the second one. So multiply by 1/4. Copy, dot, flop here. So 77 and 4, I can't see anything to cancel. And 1 is already as small as it can be, so I can't cancel anything that way either. So 77 times 1 is 77. 2 times 4 is 8. Now we just need to finish with our division problem. So 77 divided by 8, so it can't go into 7, but it can go into 77 9 times. 9 times 8 is 72. 7 minus 2 is 5, so I've got 5 pieces out of 8. So he ran each mile in 9 minutes, 9 whole minutes, and 5/8 more of a minute. So less than 10 minutes, more than 9, so 9 and 5/8 is how long it took him to run each mile. So let's go look at task 3 questions. So first we're going to choose the problem that represents the situation to divide. So we know what did we have, what was our total, divided by how many miles. Then you're going to calculate the division, evaluate, not calculate, those are very different words, the division expression using the reciprocal. So after we know our division problem, then we have to flip it and use the reciprocal, copy, dot, flop. That first dividend stays the same. And then how many minutes did it take Cedric? Oh, my lights just keep going out. One at a time, it just keeps getting darker and darker. How many minutes did Cedric take to run each mile? And then how would you use a model if you were doing that? Explain how would you use a model. So we just did it mathematically. Will you connect that back to the model and tell me what would you draw? what would you cut them up into, and then what would you group together? Okay, that is everything for our tasks today. So go ahead and make sure you finish those up. And then you're going to do your check for understanding and your independent practice and your homework today. Let me know if you need anything or if I can help you at all. I'm more than happy to meet with you at any time, and we can do more practice and get a better handle on these fractions. So just remember, you've got to make them improper. So times the denominator by the whole number, add on the numerator. Then you can follow the division steps to copy, dot, flop it. Okay, have a great day.